Finally, what to watch out for, okay? What to watch out for in terms of halal investment. Halal investment must meet these 4 conditions. It must be interest-free, okay? So when we say it must be interest-free, it means, for instance, nobody can promise you returns on your investment. No guarantee. There mustn't be any guarantee. For instance, if I'm putting $100,000 in a particular investment, right, and someone says you're going to earn 20% of that money, that's 20% of my capital's interest, right? Because when you're exchanging money for money and there's an increase on it, that's what we call riba, and that's interest, okay? There has to be risk sharing. So if I'm investing in a particular commodity, I have to share the risk, okay? I have to share the risk. So if there is a loss, I'll share the loss. If there's a profit, I'll share the profit. So that's why if you structure an investment to be Sharia compliant, and then you use conventional insurance, the use of conventional insurance makes that investment to be not permissible. That's why I said that most of the agri-tech companies in Nigeria, I don't consider the investment to be permissible, right? Beyond the fact that I understand their structuring and I know the structuring is not entirely Sharia compliant, also many of them use conventional insurance. And the use of conventional insurance already violates risk sharing. Because what it means is that if the agri-tech company fails to pay, the insurance company is going to pay. There's someone that is already guaranteeing your capital. Okay, then contractual certainty. This has to do with the risk that you're taking. Where the risk that you're taking, there is a major uncertainty and there is a minor uncertainty. And that's why, for instance, gambling is not permissible, because gambling is a zero-sum game, right? There is a major uncertainty there. It's either you lose your money or someone wins, or you win and then someone loses. That's gambling. So if you know that, okay, from the get-go, you're going to win at the expense of someone losing, or someone will win at the expense of you losing, then that kind of investment is not permissible. So that's why, for instance, gambling is not permissible. Now, contractual certainty also has to do with having all the necessary information that you need to make a well-informed decision before we can say that investment is and of itself Sharia compliant. If I want to invest in a product, for instance, I need to know what exactly I'm investing in. I need to know the likely returns that I might earn, predictive returns, not necessarily fixed returns. We need to know what exactly they are buying. What is that they are buying? Are they buying assets? What type of assets are they buying? So all the things that would help us to make a well-informed decision have to be present, all right? And then there's so many questions people are asking. Okay, ethical here means, whatever we're investing in has to be Sharia compliant. Okay, defined by Allah, this messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we can't invest in pork, we can't invest in interest-based business. So if you have shares in a bank, for instance, you probably just have to sell the shares because that is impermissible. It is haram completely. There's no scholar that agrees that you can buy shares of a conventional bank, but you can buy shares of a Jaiz, for instance. Jaiz is a PLC, right? You can buy shares of an Islamic bank, but not a conventional bank. You can't buy shares of Nigerian breweries, right? Because what they are selling is not ethical. It is haram, all right? Then, what's it called? I think I've explained the X% of capital, which is not permissible, except that there is an underlying asset. So someone can ask me a question, hey, wait. What about the sukuk, all right? So the government has already told us how much we're going to earn, right? The coupon. I can't remember the returns for the last one. I think it was about 11% or so, I think 10. Okay, so federal government already told us, right, X% of our capital. Okay, that's why I said except there's an underlying asset, right? So if I am trading an asset, so let's say that I bought an asset for $100 and then I sold it to Abdulghani for $120. Okay, and I told Abdulghani to pay me in 6 months' time. From today, I already know how much I'm going to make, right? 20%. I know how much I'm going to make, right? Because I traded an asset. I didn't trade money, all right? So if I traded money, so I gave Abdulghani the $100, all right? And I told him to pay me $120. That's his interest. But if I traded an asset, I bought the asset, I assumed constructive possession of the assets, and I sold it to him, and I asked him to pay me $120 in the future. That is completely Sharia compliant, all right? Because that is a trade. That is not riba. That is not haram, that is trade. So for the federal government sukuk, there's an underlying asset, right, that has been leased to the federal government, right? So the sukuk holders lease the assets to the federal government, of course, using the SPV. So that is Sharia compliant. It's just like a landlord who, rented your apartment to you, and the landlord says, pay me 500,000, right? So from the get-go, the landlord knows how much it's going to earn because he owns the property. If he did not own the property and he's asking you to pay a certain amount of money, that is, of course, not Sharia compliant. So that's why, in Islamic finance, we say that you cannot make money from something that you do not own. If you can't sell something that you don't own, all right, essentially. So you also need to ask this fundamental question: who certified the investment to be Sharia compliant? This is a question that many of us do not ask. All right. So people come out and say, okay, this investment is Sharia compliant, it's halal, it's this. But you don't take your time to really know the people that certify the investment to be Sharia compliant. For instance, the sukuk, right? How many of us invested in sukuk? By the way, I'm rounding off. How many of us invested in sukuk? Invested in the last sukuk? How many of us? How many of us invested in the last sukuk? How many of us invested in the last sukuk? Okay, count for us. Yes, invested in the last. Okay. Do you know the people that certify the sukuk to be Sharia compliant? Do you know the people? You got the info later. Okay, I'm sorry about that. But you can still buy it anyways. Like I said, you can still buy the sukuk on the secondary market. Okay, so it's not too late. All right, so it's important for you to know the people that certify the investment to be Sharia compliant. Who are the scholars? Because you want to know the people that signed, on the investment to be Sharia compliant. So if you're investing with a company, let's say Lotus Capital, it would be nice to know the Sharia scholars, right? So if a random company just comes out of the blue and says, okay, we are offering halal investment, who certified it to be Sharia compliant? Because this is not something that has been designed by man. Halal investment is not an investment that has been designed by man. It's an investment that was actually designed by Allah and His Messenger. Okay, so we want to know whether you truly follow the tenets of the Islamic laws before you reach the conclusion as to whether this is permissible, because anyone can say an investment is Sharia compliant for as long as you use the principles laid down by Allah and His Messenger, and then we can, agree with you. Otherwise, you can call it halal or Sharia compliant all you can. Okay, if we do not see you use the principles laid down by Allah and His Messenger, we would not call it Sharia compliant. All right.